Scott Fishman here for Wrestling Inc. And today we have AEW star, and just, he wears many hats with AEW beyond that, I think. QT Marshall, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you? That's probably the easiest way to just say it. He just wears a lot of hats.
Renaissance man at AEW.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
So, the show itself, Dynamite, just celebrated its second anniversary. Just talk about just the evolution from, you were there, right from the beginning. You kind of saw the inner workings going in, and you saw just the growth of talent, the explosion of talent coming in. So kind of just what do you make of the last 2 years when you kind of put everything in perspective?
Super exciting, right? Like, I remember, Washington, D.C., the first ever Dynamite, sold out crowd. And now we're back to that. And, of course, with the pandemic and everything that was going on in the world, it kind of took a little bit of a dip, but not really. We still continue to produce, some of the greatest wrestling content in the world. So, but I think now having those fans back, it's great, and of course, yes, with the new additions in the roster and some young talent, some older talent, some veteran talent. I mean, that's just more content for us, right? That's kind of the way I look at it. It's just more matches for the fans and more dream matches, and just it's great overall. So I'm very excited. Our second year anniversary was an excellent show, and it's just onward and upward from here still.
And when you were initially brought on to AEW, just talk about how your role kind of evolved, because you're a veteran of the business. So just talk about just when you're brought in, what you were told, how you signed, and kind of just how that role evolved. Because in a recent interview, Tony Khan even mentioned he called you like his assistant. So if you can also just kind of clarify what your role in that kind of realm is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I first started as Cody's assistant, and then just there's a lot of work that needs to be done behind the scenes. And I kind of noticed that and just wanted to do as much as I can, because with more work comes more responsibility, but also more money, right? So I've always wanted to only work in wrestling. And when I took the job as Cody's assistant, it was very much like a very developmental deal almost, just to kind of see if I fit in and this, that, and the other. And then when the pandemic hit, I was already a producer at that point, but when the pandemic hit, and for instance, some of the EVPs, they couldn't come to work because Matt and Nick are in California, and, so stuff like that. And I just grew closer to Tony, and, I think he can trust me and he confides in me a lot. And, we go back and forth. And again, I don't know where this ever came up, but it's his show. It's always been his show. And I'm sure Matt, Nick, Kenny, Cody, I've seen it firsthand where, of course, they pitch ideas, and everyone pitches ideas, myself included, every now and then. But he is the be all end all, but he also does need somebody to put it on paper, right? So I don't mind doing it. It was something I saw Cody doing in the beginning, so I took over on that, on just formatting the show. But even if I formatted it with only the matches that are advertised, he's still going to take a look at it and say, no, let's do this. It's his show. We all have our part in it. So, but yeah, there are nights that, in Rochester, for instance, I got there and I got to the hotel and we were up till about 5, 6 a.m. just going over everything. And just, I think a lot of it is his ideas and then putting it on paper, and then we have to time it out and see if it actually works, how we can make it all make sense and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's an honor like that. He thinks of me like that, and assistant, right-hand man, whatever terms you want to use. Like, some people were tweeting at me like, does it bother you? Why would it bother me? I assist him. So
yeah, I'm the learning tree too. I mean, and being able to collaborate at that high level. I mean, that's
I mean, like I said, I try to stay in my lane. I really do. I don't want anyone to think that, I'm writing the show, like physically writing, you know what I mean? Like, typing the format is one thing, but creating a show, that's not what I do. I am a liaison, I think, between my job actually is the liaison between production and creative, right? So unless Tony's there handling it himself, for the most part, if Malachi Black's coming in and he has this cool entrance idea, I work with him, I work with production, and we kind of make it work. The bigger things, that's obviously what Tony's going to handle. So, that's my job there. When it comes to talent, talent does pitch ideas to me because I guess they feel it's easier for them to pitch to me, which Tony has an extremely open door policy. Like, it's crazy, in fact, how many people could just walk in his office at any day of the week, especially on TV day when we're really busy. But, he loves it. He wants to – I just watched that Forbes piece they did on him that's on our YouTube channel now, like, or that we're promoting. It's on their YouTube channel. And he's right. Like, if you're on his show that night, he wants to give everyone the time of day to go over their segment, tell them what they're thinking. Do they like the idea? Is there something in their mind? So he's very, very, very hands-on. And I just look to, kind of be the guy that could take a little bit of that load off of him, if that makes sense, without overstepping my boundaries.
Right. And, we've seen, knowing him the way that you have and kind of seeing a lot of the response we're seeing on social media when it comes to him, being proud of the company, that he's creating, but he's also kind of talking about WWE and things like that. But what do you kind of make of, with the whole Rampage and the counter programming and just kind of knowing him and how he's kind of just, not reacting to it, but just kind of taking that in and kind of, do you feel like they're kind of just kind of staying the course, or do you think just kind of seeing what the landscape is and kind of going from there sort of thing? What's
right.
the
So yeah, I mean, that came as a shock to me, right? I didn't know that was happening because those are his cards that he keeps close to his chest. I believe they counter programmed us first, right? So like they announced that they were going to do an extra half hour because they were on FS1 and they kind of wanted to go against us. So this is his way of, at the end of the day, the way I look at it is more content for the wrestling fan. Does it make you choose? Yeah, that's what's fun about it. And are we going to win? Who knows? I don't think there is a winner or loser. I think, the fans win automatically. And it puts our fans at our wrestlers at on a different level now, because instead of just filming for Elevation or something like that, now we're live again. So now we have like Lee Moriarty, for instance, is going to be on a live buy-in, and that's great experience for him, and to be out there with a guy like Bobby Fish. And then you have a massive match like Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki, and we're just we're giving it to you for free because that's what we want to do, right? Like, our pay-per-view model isn't the be-all end-all. It's just about creating good content for the fans, and that's what Tony really wants to do. And for him to, the way people are taking it, that he's just trying to go against WWE, I mean, it is what it is. Like, you can say that, and that's how it looks, and maybe deep down that's what he wants. But at the end of the day, I think he's just trying to do his best to put out the greatest show possible and have the most eyes on it as well.
Yeah, and that's all as a fan that you want, is just someone that works hard to put on an entertaining show. I can't believe, it's just funny that people hate on that.
Yeah, not only that, like, it's fun. You know what I mean? Like, when I see banter between, like, the first time we beat NXT, right? The first week. Oh, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Cool. Like, they didn't have to come at us. You know what I mean? But they did, and it was fun. It was lighthearted. No one's like backstage thinking like, oh my God, we have to beat them or we have to do this. That's not what we think about. We think about putting on the greatest content possible. And if it happens to beat them, great. If it doesn't beat them, then we got to work harder, of course. But I don't think we're just competing with, WWE, especially on Rampage night, or even now Wednesday on Dynamite, because NXT has moved. So I think we're just competing with the challenge, guys' grocery games. Like, it's kind of absurd, the type of stuff that we do compete with. That has nothing to do with the WWE or any other wrestling company for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Goldbergs, I like the Connors, I like comedy sitcoms. Sure. So even that,
of course, of course. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I think the greatest content always wins. So we're doing a pretty good job right now. We do have a lot of young talent that's still learning, which is why Elevation and Dark and these shows are great for them as well. And then when they get thrusted into the spotlight, like the Acclaim the other night with the Lucha Brothers, they put on a great show, and fans seem to be pretty happy with everything.
Yeah. You talk about the young talent coming in. You're kind of right on this there with the Nightmare Factory. Just with all this big names coming in, the big stars, just talk about the balance of bringing in these top talent, but also you have the homegrown talent as well, and then also ones that you're kind of building for the future. So just talk about the challenges of that, and that kind of how that's now become more prevalent now that you're having all these kind of big names coming in left and right, and kind of making sure everyone has the right adequate amount of TV time to kind of grow in their.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when AEW first started, that's what it was, right? It was a bunch of, there was a couple huge names, Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes. You had the Bucks and Kenny that wrestling fans really knew who they were. And then you had a bunch of unknowns, your Jungle Boys and, these guys that I've never even heard of. And that's how they get elevated. Like, Jericho wrestling Hangman for the first ever AEW championship. Like that elevated Hangman. Whether they thought he should have won, it doesn't matter. Like that elevated him. He was in the ring with Chris Jericho. Orange Cassidy doing his program with Jericho. So like it's always been like that. I think it's more important now that we bring in more bigger stars, right? So like it's more important now to get those big stars with the younger talent, like Daniel Garcia with CM Punk this week. And stuff like that, right? Like Will Hobbs with CM Punk, like those put these guys on a huge platform, and it's kind of a sink or swim type deal. And it seems like they're swimming pretty fine. So, I'm excited for it. Like I said, is it harder to be on TV now? Probably. But that's the business that we're in. And I always say this, you could do two things. You can sit around and complain, or you could just get over. And I just say that even myself, like I have to figure that out now. Okay, now that we have all this other talent here, the pandemic's over, we're trying to sell tickets and draw huge ratings. We have to figure out how to get over with the audience to the point where, they're going to watch and also keep our bosses happy, keep the other wrestlers happy. Like it's a hard job that we're in, but it's the greatest job in the world.
I mean, how fulfilling was it for you to kind of be able to kind of grow in the character that you have been? I mean, you're so natural on the microphone. You get that natural heat. I mean, you've been in this business for so long, so you kind of have gotten built up to this point for you. But to have this platform, like so many others who have not gotten that platform before, it just shows what having options and how important it is to have those options. But for you, in your eyes, when you were told that you were going to be put in this program with Cody and this story was going to be told on TV, just talk about what that meant to you.
Yeah, I mean, it meant everything to me, especially because it wasn't Cody or my idea. Like, if it was our idea, then it doesn't mean as much because then it's us just pitching ideas and Tony trying to be nice to us because we work for him. It's not the case. Again, this is Tony's show. It was his idea. It was to elevate the other guys in the factory. Anthony had an operation he had to go handle. Nick Camarado had his match with Dustin and Solo. I've been doing some stuff with him. So like that storyline was so much fun. Whether people loved it or hated it, I know the matches did really well numbers wise on, in ratings. On top of that, they were for the most part good matches because we're both really good professional wrestlers. And I think it's a trust issue. Or a non-issue, I should say, when it comes to me being on TV. And the reason I say that is not to sound arrogant or anything like that. I've just been wrestling for so long, and the way I was trained was so old school that if you cut my time mid-match, if you do something to me mid-match, I can handle it. And especially in a pandemic era when there's no fans, it's really, really hard to wrestle in front of nobody because you feel that, you need that. But I've been doing it in a school for so long. Wrestling in front of nobody, having these practice matches, it kind of was like, just another day for me. So having that storyline was really cool. And then once it was over and Anthony went back and got, had to handle his stuff, then the opportunity came up with Paul. And not for nothing, I know a lot of people were, negative towards it. I don't know why. Paul White is a humongous, massive star, no pun intended. And who else on the AEW roster would anyone be okay with Paul White beating on a pay-per-view? That's just the one question that no one's thinking about. Who on the roster could Paul White beat, which was not going to get him, industry heat, as they would say, for coming in and taking up TV time? I'm that guy. You know what I mean? And I'm okay being that guy. I had a great time doing it. It was fun. I got to check off one of the goals on my list for 2021, which was to have a one-on-one pay-per-view match. Was it the most glamorous match in the world? I mean, if you're looking at it from one perspective, no. From my perspective, of course. I got to go out there in front of a sold-out crowd with a genuine first ballot Hall of Famer. The story leading up to it was great. We did great, ratings on the way in, because of Paul. He's a big star. So, I'm just very fortunate for everything that's been given to me, and I do my best not to strike out when I get up to the plate. And that's my biggest thing. And I love honest feedback from the people that matter. The fans on Twitter, there's 60 of them out of 1 million that are going to watch the show. I'm not really worried about those 60. Every now and then I will go back and forth with them because it's fun. And but other than that, I don't really take it to heart. And if you hate me, that means I'm doing my job. And if you say it's a different way of hate, cool. You're not getting up when I'm out there. So as long as you're sitting there watching and you're booing, I think we're having a good time.
And, you both had your first pay-per-view match together. So I think for you to have that shared experience has to be a cool moment for you too, knowing that.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. It was like I said, it was an honor for him to, want to do it with me. Like I said, also, I don't know who else he would have done it with, but at the same time, I'm glad it was me.
Glad it was you.
Yeah.
You had a lot of comparisons with your shirts to bowling league shirts. I'm just curious, how good of a bowler are you actually?
So I'm actually really good at bowling. I haven't gone in a while. Usually before the pandemic, we would, say, oh, we have training tonight. And then we'd get to training and I would say, hey, we're all going to bowling just to, for the camaraderie. That's something I learned actually from Cody. And that's how Cody and I first started hanging out. We'd go bowling and I'd beat him. Don't let him know I said that. But one time it was down to the final frame. And I remember I was there and Blade was there at the time. This is before he started working with us. And Cody kind of like went and hid and he didn't want to watch my last throw because he knew he could lose. And I looked at Blade. I said, hey, so I could either gutter this ball and keep my job or I could throw it right down the middle. And then I looked at him. I said, well, good luck finding a new job. And then I won. So I enjoy bowling. The bowling shirts are very comfortable, believe it or not. It's a different look that no one is using right now. So, I remember like when I first turned, I was like, okay, I have to change who I am. At heart, I'm a wrestling coach. So when I first did the promo, I was in like warm-up clothes, Under Armour warm-up clothes. And that's what I'm comfortable in. But if I'm trying to be this boss, like I have to, dress the part and I don't want to wear a suit. I'm just not into it. So this is the best way. I didn't realize how expensive these shirts are though. And, Sting ruined my shirt the other day, by the way. So maybe I'll just put it on his bill or something like that.
Well, if you sell it on eBay, you probably make the money back. So.
That's what everyone thinks. They keep telling me that I should sell it on eBay. But you know what? I don't know if I want to sell it on eBay. I don't know how many times I'm going to get in the ring with Sting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Just when you look at the roster, those you've been working with in the gym, maybe who's kind of one name that you can pick out that may surprise people or that we should be looking out for that we haven't really seen much of on the shows from your vantage point in your little scout report here?
Yeah, so obviously, are you talking about like at my school in general or just
at your school or even, when you see it in the locker room, guy or girl who hasn't been really gotten the opportunity yet, but you kind of
I think that when we see something and it clicks, we try to give them that opportunity right away. And like Dante Martin is a prime example of that. He's somebody that did really well on a match on Dark. And right away, he was just kind of thrusted out there. He's somebody, obviously, Jungle Boy has gone from very young talent to big star in our company. And, like Lee Moriarty, we just, put him under contract. Like he's getting this opportunity Friday. So at my school, we just work really hard. I have guys like Lee Johnson and, Preston Vance, Alan Angels, Anna Jay, Jade Cargill, and we're just, they understand just as much as I tell them, that nothing is guaranteed. Your time isn't guaranteed on TV. Just because people on Twitter, you're retweeting them, that doesn't mean that you're actually over. You know what I mean? And that's something that is a hard pill to swallow sometimes when you are getting this positive feedback from fans. But it's only, again, the same 6 that are negative towards me might be the positive towards them, but that's only 6 out of 1 million that are watching over 1 million every week. So, we just, like I said, we just work really hard and we just hope that when we get those opportunities, we shine. And, there is a lot of young talent in the locker room right now, but also I think they're ready for it and they're excited for it. And we have such a great atmosphere backstage that if you need help, there's so many coaches back there. There's so many, great minds that if you're looking for the advice, you can find it. If you're not looking for the advice, it is what it is. But I know I look for it all the time. I talk to Tully, Jake, Arn, I talk to these guys all the time and ask them advice, and because they're the ones that actually made real money. And I don't mean, listen, we make great money at AEW, but that's from our TV deals and this, that, and the other, because Tony's a great boss. But I mean the ones that drew money, you know what I mean? And they're there, and those are the guys that like I said, even if you just take a little bit of what they're telling you and mix it in with the new style that we do now. But I think, another young, like the Gun Club, for instance, Colton and Austin. I've seen them as heels, and they just turned heel. And I think the fans are in for a real treat when they actually start going, because they are a lot of personality, especially Austin, and then Colton's just like a natural athlete. Just it's in the blood. So a lot of that going around in AEW right now.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much, QT, for the time. Of course, fans can catch you on AEW television and maybe Roads to the Top as well. And these
Road to the
upcoming
Top,
episodes.
AEW, wherever
Anywhere else that you want people to find you?
Yeah, I mean, I just got my Twitter handle back, so it's just at QT Marshall, and then Real QT Marshall on Instagram. I'm still listen. At the end of the day, as much as I'd love to tweet out all the time and post on Instagram all the time, I have a life, and I try to stay balanced with that life as well. But it is part of my job, so I do try to go out there as much as I can and interact with the fans as much as I can. But at the same time, I gotta stay grounded with my wife. She keeps me pretty level-headed. I still got to pick up my shoes. I still got to put my clothes away. She don't care if I'm on TV or not,
Yeah, for sure. Well, it was great sharing some time, get some insight from, I feel like you're one of the unsung heroes of AEW.
Thank you.
Cool to kind of get that insight from you on this. So thanks for the time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.